kind of like gives way and kind of distributes the energy more.
Are you the Zenith helmet?
No. No, the shut Ion 4D, where it has the kind of like the shock absorbers on the side. Where if you get and it goes that way, does that help with kind of the distribution of the energy going around?
It does when you put what they do is they take a styrofoam dummy head and they put it in a helmet and they drop it on the ground in they can reduce force.
Okay.
The problem is what is the difference between falling 10 to 15 feet on a cement floor and being in a game where you have that rotational, you have the am I prepared? I mean, there's this whole thing with neck muscles. If we strengthen neck muscles, well, fewer concussions. We look at football players, they have pretty strong necks.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get the kindergarten girls with the same neck strength comparatively that the football players have. So, yes, we can talk about reducing force, but does reducing force equal reducing concussions? You know, is this all ... to be continued? And it's changing, and things that we said 3 years ago aren't true any longer. You know, science is a relative thing to the moment.
Could you talk about the thing you talked about in the other section about blood flow and what actually happens to you?
What is a concussion? It's not a bruising, it's not a tearing, and now they're finding out it actually may be a tearing. But what it is chemicals. It's a bunch of chemicals. So there's sodium and potassium, and they're your neurotransmitters. And that's how the messages go along your brain. So if we say sodium is blue marbles and potassium is white marbles. In a concussion, everything is shooken. So let's say we have blue marbles over here, white marbles over here. In a concussion, everything is thrown on the floor. The potassium, the sodium cross the membrane. And the brain is basically chemically messed up. The only way to fix that is that the brain has to take the blue marble and put it back, or white marble and put it back. So your brain has to do a task. There's a task for your brain to do to heal, to correct the chemical imbalance. So what happens along with that work is in the first half an hour you get this spike of blood flow. That's where you fall, you jump up, you're like, I want to go back in the game. Chris is like, I'm fine, the bus ran me over, I'm fine. You know, like that's when you get that is real. That is because the body does that. Then it falls down from 6 to 8 to 12 to 18 days where you are vulnerable. Your symptoms may go away. You may not have any more concussion symptoms, but that blood flow is low.
Is that where the second impact?
That's where second impact, and there's something else that's not published yet, but called overlapping concussion, which is going to be where you have two concussions close together, and it doubles your recovery time. If you're in a soccer game and you get hit, and say your normal recovery would be 3 weeks, and you stay in another quarter, you get hit again, you're now up to 6 weeks. That's called overlapping. It's not an official medical term yet. I did get ESPN to use it, which I think makes it real, but the doctor who's bringing the paper out is still working on some peer review stuff. But that's called overlapping concussion syndrome. We need words. We have concussion and we have second impact. And I have kids walking around going, I had second impact. And I'm like, you'd be dead or a vegetable. You have this. I've had doctors say kids have second impact. The kids we don't have enough words to describe. We need 15 or 20 more terms. So this overlapping concussion syndrome is coming out. So in this, let's say I'm going to have all you guys do this stupid marble exercise, do all your homework, do all your schoolwork, do your chores at home, and I'm going to give you half the caffeine and half the food and half the sleep for the next 3 weeks. You are going to be cranky. You're going to have headaches. You're not going to be very fun to be around. All of those symptoms. So when you have a concussion, your brain is sorting things out with half the food because you have half the blood flow. And it gets irritated, and those symptoms tell you slow down. That's why we don't give you codeine. It'd be great. You come home with a concussion and you get 3 weeks of codeine. No, the doctors want you to feel the pain because the pain tells you have to take yourself and shut down and rest. That pain is a warning sign from the brain.
So why they tell you not to take like medicine?
Right. I'm going to take Tylenol. Anything else with the blood.
And in the clinic that I work for, we try not to give anything. Because, if you could text without pain, so you're sitting here texting and your brain cannot do that sorting process. The other way they describe it is if your brain is a highway and it's very smooth, and when you're young, messages get faster. Subconcussive hits, so that's you have concussions, and you have these hits where it's not exactly a concussion, it's below that level. Over time, how many hits can you take in playing soccer, football, lacrosse, or skateboarding, or some of the longer concussions I've seen have come from snowboarding, wakeboarding, where you have a board attached to you that hits you in the head. So if you look at those long-term things, they make little potholes in the highway. And what do those potholes do for traveling of information? So again, we won't know for a while what this means.